Let's take a look at the Allen Heath T-Series. T-Series is the latest addition to the iLive family of digital mixing systems, which consist of mix racks and surfaces connected together by Cat5 cables. What we have here today is the IDR32 mix rack connected to an iLive 80T surface. This connection between the two is known as ACE, audio control over Ethernet, and this allows multi-channel audio to go backwards and forwards down one Cat5 cable, replacing the traditional analog multi-core system. And so the IDR32 mix rack could be placed on stage, replacing your traditional stage box. This kind of system has fixed inputs and outputs. You can see here in the mix rack, got 32 XLR mic-ins, 16 XLR outs, which can be freely patched to the inputs in the system and the outputs. On the back of the surface we also have some TRS jack, RCA and SP-diff inputs and outputs, and those are again patchable to any of the outputs and inputs in a system. Any iLive system has 64 processing inputs and 32 mixes available, all with full processing. The surface has some faders, motorized faders, which are arranged in a couple of banks on this surface, and you can see colored strips which allow you to name and color and associate these control strips with any of the input channels, the output channels, groups, matrix, effects, etc., etc. In addition to that, we have a processing section at the top which allows access to DSP processing of the channel that's selected, a touchscreen which allows you to do detailed editing of processing functions and other menu items, some soft keys, monitor section, talkback, and other familiar controls that you would get with a mixing system. There are options for the iLive T systems. Like all iLive systems, there may be expansion slots for additional types of interfacing modules, MIDI interfacing at both ends, ports for our remote controllers called Planet, and some TCP/IP ports so we can connect up laptops, Wi-Fi and network control, because the control that runs down this cable as well is also TCP/IP over Ethernet. So this is actually a network controller for the mixer, which is the heart of the system here in the mix rack. Let's have a look at the larger system. This is the iLive T112 connected to an IDR48 mix rack, again by Cat5 cable, which is audio and control, which can run up to 120 meters. This mix rack has 48 inputs, XLR inputs there, and 24 assignable XLR outs. Looking at the rear of the 112 surface, we have the mains input, power supply status indicator, MIDI in and out, the networking ports to connect up a computer, the ACE port for the audio control networking over Cat5 cable, and some TRS, jack, RCA and SP-diff inputs and outputs which are mappable in the patch bay. In addition to that, we have the external VGA output and 2 USB ports. T112 has 28 faders arranged across 3 banks on the surface, and each bank has 4 layers. So you can see here as we go through, the motorized faders will pick up the positions, and the colored cells can be labeled to indicate what the control strip is doing. So in which case here we've got some inputs, here we've got some auxiliaries, some more inputs, the DCAs, main outputs, some auxiliary sends, effects sends and returns, and some groups. So you can arrange how you want these to appear on your surface to suit you, and these can be changed in scene, so you can change it from band to band or from operator to operator. So 28 faders, 4 layers, gives you 112 strips. An input channel has all this processing. With selective processing there, we've got gain or trim for the front end, high pass filter, a gate, 4-band EQ, compressor and limiter. So we've got 64 input channels with that processing. If we take a look at an output mix, in this case an AUX, we've got 4-band EQ, compressor, limiter, and a graphic equalizer. And the graphic equalizer can be adjusted on screen, or we can show this on the faders across the surface. So all the mixes in an iLive system have a graphic EQ and a delay line, an insert point on every output. All processing can be adjusted either by the processing strip on the top here on the 112, and you can see the corresponding sections come up on the thumbnails here on the screen. So we've got the preamp, the gate, parametric EQ, etc. Across the screen. If we make adjustments to something like the EQ here with the knobs, we can see the graph moving on the screen, and we can bring that one up for details and use the finger here or adjust the parameters using the encoder here. So that works in the same way as using the knobs on the screen there. All settings in an iLive system can be saved to a USB key, either as library items for individual processing sections or the channels, or as a show file which contains all the scenes and the settings of the desk. This can also be used with the iLive editor in PC and Mac, which accepts USB transfer. In addition to the processing for the inputs and outputs, every iLive system has 8 effects engines. These can be high-quality reverbs, delays, ADT, chorus, flanging, and can be inserted on inputs and outputs or used as send and returns in the traditional sense. The mix rack is capable of being a standalone system. It has the DSP and everything needed to run the mix. So you can use a control surface like the T112 here connected by Cat5 cable on the network, but we could use a laptop running software called Editor to control the system, and this could be solely with the mix rack by itself or in conjunction with a system like we have today. So at the moment we have Cat5 cable connected from my laptop into the mix rack, but we could equally do this by Wi-Fi. So if we have a look here at the mixer, we select an auxiliary, bring up the graphic EQ. I can click on my screen here and make adjustments to that graphic EQ, and we will see the faders move here. So I could be walking around the stage now making adjustments to my equalization for the monitors on stage. We also do these remote controllers called Planet. Planet again is Cat5 cable, plug and play. You plug them in, pick up some controls. We have here on this label, we have some DCA groups attached to the faders. We can make them as mute groups. The soft keys can do all sorts of things like tap tempo for effects or mutes or launching MIDI or scene events. The system is expandable by using the port B slot here on the front of the mix rack. And in there we can put additional cards like an ACE expansion system to join two systems together. We can fit ether sound module. This allows us to create ether sound audio networking between this system and another system and recording, broadcast and split systems. And we do other cards as well, such as a mini output card which gives you ADAT and Avion, Hearbus, those kind of features. And look out for the MADI card coming in August. If you want to know more about the iLive systems or the iLive T systems, check out Alan Heath website for more video clips showing you all these features in detail.